Hi guys, Kelly here, and I'm going to do a new series that I'm going to call Book Babble, where each one of these videos I pick a book that's fairly popular, so a lot of people would have read it, and I'm going to show you my every reaction as I read this. So it'll be like a reading vlog style as I do it. So full spoilers. So if you haven't read the book that I've chosen for this video, you probably don't want to watch this because I will be telling you all the good, the bad, every reaction I have the whole time I am reading it. And the book that I have chosen for today is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. And so this is about a woman named Mia who is raised to be an assassin, I believe. I don't know a lot about it because I actually never planned on reading this book. It just didn't appeal to me. Like the cover I don't find appealing. When I heard about it, I heard it was pretty graphic, and I don't know, I just never was drawn to reading it. But then I buddy read with a group online, and this was the book that was voted on, and I was like, well, I'll give it a chance. But since it's a book I don't actually, if it's very popular but I still don't know a lot about it and I never plan on reading it, I think it'd be a perfect one to get my reactions on because I don't have high expectations going in. So I'm just going to tell you what I think about it. So I have actually started it. I am, I think, 3 chapters in. Yes, so I read 3 chapters. And the first thing I'll have to say for it is that this writing style is confusing and hard to get into at first. So it is very flowery. Like he uses like, oh daughter, la la, like that kind of language is actually said like throughout it. And there's also like, you'll see with the very first chapter, I'll show you, like, so some parts are, I don't know if you can see this, some parts are in italic and some part are in regular font, and it does that, it looks like throughout the story, a lot of that, like going back and forth between something that's happened in the past, maybe the italics are, and something that happened currently, so that makes it a little hard to get into. And then the very first chapter, I'm sure if you're watching this, you have already read this book. And so the first chapter is the like split of first. So it goes back and forth between her first time having sex with what I'm assuming is a prostitute from the way they're portraying him to her first kill. So she's already been trained to be an assassin by somebody that we meet a little bit, but I don't remember who he is. And so those things are mirrored, and so it's almost the identical language, but one she's having sex and one she's killing somebody. So right off the bat, you know, this is definitely an adult book, and he's not going to shy away from, not that it was gruesome, like I didn't actually think that killing was all that graphic or anything, but he's not going to shy away from like going like to more adult places, because a lot of people like mistakenly think this is YA, but from the very beginning it is definitely not YA. At least it should be NA. Like I think that this is better for like people that are 18 or over, but you know, that's not for me to choose or whatever. But yeah, so those are my reactions so far. I'm just having a harder time. So what I did was I was gonna listen to the audiobook because I know that there are like footnotes, and I did start the audiobook, but I just could not concentrate on the audiobook without the physical copy. So far I've been listening to it while reading it, but that goes really slow, I feel like. So I might just try physically reading it. I don't know. You killed a cat? Seriously? You killed a cat? Kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, I kind of figured the cat might die since the cat is later a shadow, but I didn't know we're going to have to actually hear about somebody physically killing the cat. Not happy. So some of the problem I'm having with this book, it's been, what, 3 days, and I'm only on chapter 5. I feel myself rereading a lot. Like, I'm even doing both the audiobook and the book to try to, like, absorb it. And I still have to pause the audiobook and go back and read paragraphs. I don't know if other people have had the same problem. It's just maybe the style of writing, or, I don't know, just getting to know the world. But I don't normally have to reread this much, and so it is taking me forever to read this. I have heard that once you get to a certain place that it gets a lot faster, so I'm hoping once I get more familiar with the characters in the world, because right now this is going to take me forever to read this, what is it, 400 and some page book, when in 3 days I have read 50 pages. Yeah, that can be very tough. So let's just hope things go on. We just met Trick though, and I really liked the opening scene where Mia and Trick met. I just liked their interaction, so I'm really hoping that my interest in them and their interaction with each other will help move the story along. So I've been reading chapter 5, and I'm really starting to love Mia, our main character. I mean, just in that chapter, like, her fighting this giant, like, sand creature in order to save her horse. Her horse who, like, can't stand her and who runs away from her as soon as he's saved. And then she has this whole conversation, you know, with Trick about using body parts or genitalia as curse words, and I'm just loving her. And then at the very end of the chapter, the last line is, and just like that, young Trick was in love. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I just finished chapter 6, and here's the thing. After taking a few days off, you know, I had to remember, you know, like italics, past tense, the regular font is current. But I get to the regular font, and I have no idea where we're at. We're like, suddenly, Mia and Trick are in a wagon, Krakens are following them, some other person's in the wagon with them, and I was so confused. I was like, did I miss something? So I like went back to the last present tense one, and like, no, I didn't miss anything. I have no idea what's happening. I'm like, well, I'm just going to keep reading. And then I find out that that was like a flash forward, and now we're hearing the story of how they met this woman, and how they got on the caravan, and how they got being chased and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, you already have 2 tenses going on. We're learning about the story of her childhood, and we're learning about the present tense. Don't start adding in more like back and forth. Oh my gosh. If I had just been listening to this in the audio, I think I would be so confused. Because even reading it and having to flip back and stuff, I was completely lost and just had no idea what's happening. So that is frustrating. Well, I'm making progress. I am now on chapter 11, so that's a third all the way through. And she just got her arm chopped off by her teacher in her first class. And, you know, I mean, it was a shock. I did not expect that coming, but I appreciate the fact that Jay Kristoff is not making this a tame assassin story, that there are going to be real consequences to the actions. And so I'm finding that even though that was shocking, like, I'm really appreciating that we're not going to just stay in a tame, like, classroom situation. That, you know, like, if these people are going to be assassins, you know, you're going to have to live with your choices and the things that happen. Well, then the next chapter, she gets her arm back, all mended, safe, and happy. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, part of me is like, okay, he's building the world, that there's some magic out there that makes it so that people can heal each other. It makes sense of why Nave is still alive, and, you know, that they can go through the school and lose limbs and get them back. I mean, I guess that's a good side, but then on the other side, it takes away some of those consequences I was talking about. So, still not sure how I feel about that. Okay guys, so I am now at the halfway point, and so I wanted to give you kind of an update on how I am feeling now that I am halfway through. So let's start with negatives, so we can end kind of more on a positive. So negative-wise, I'm still not loving the writing style. I know it is very, like, stylized, and that is a pretty common complaint. And I don't know, it's hard for me to just really sit down and read a big chunk of this. I have a tendency to just read one chapter and then put it down, so it's taking me forever. I think I started this book 3 weeks ago, maybe, and only halfway through. It is easier now that they're no longer doing the flashbacks at every chapter. Like, once that ended, which I think was in part 2 or book 2, then I was able to just kind of read more than one chapter at a time. So now I'm up to reading maybe 2 chapters at a time. Yay. So that's the negative, is that it is a bit of a chore to get through the writing style. Now the positive, I am really liking the way that he is doing the assassin school. I'm not like a connoisseur of assassin stories. I would not say that. I've read a few. I have read like the Throne of Glass, some of the Throne of Glass books, like 3 of them, and then I have read His Fair Assassins, a couple of those books. So I wouldn't say that, like, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what goes in an assassin book. But when I was reading those, I was disappointed because I'm not, like, worried about if you throw in romance or throw in that the protagonist is beautiful. That stuff doesn't bother me. But I do want a bit of ruthlessness. I know that sounds bad. I mean, I'm not like somebody that likes gore or anything like that, but if it's a person is an assassin and their job is to kill people and that is like their whole goal, there needs to be some ruthlessness in their personality. Like, that's just like something I think, or else it just seems like the stakes aren't high enough, because that your job is life or death. There should be higher stakes. But this book, I am appreciating that it seems like there is definitely like a ruthlessness in like their teaching, and that the stakes are high. So that like kids are actually dying at this assassin school by making mistakes, or, you know, like the stakes, that's just how it is. That because you are learning to be an assassin, there is risk involved in that learning process, and that you might die while in school. And I appreciate that. That sounds bad, but you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that they're taking it seriously, or Jay Kristoff is writing this in a serious manner, that like, you are training to be a weapon, and that there are risks involved in that. I'm still invested, and will continue. I'm not going to DNF it just because of the writing style. I'm going to try. I don't know. We'll see when I get to the end if I think I'm going to continue, though, because this is something I don't know if I would pick up another one unless the rest of this book is like stellar to me. I made it about, what is that, 60% or so of the way through, and I have to say I really love Trick. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I just really like his character, and so because of that, I've decided to just read physically from now on and give up the audiobook, because even though I like the audiobook narrator in general, I do not like the way he does Trick's voice. I don't know, it bothers me, and I just don't want to hate Trick, because he's like my favorite character in the book. So I've given up the audiobook, and I think I made a really good choice, because right after I gave up reading the audiobook and went to physical is when the sex scene came in. And I don't have a problem, like, when you read a sex scene, I feel like I'm like, you know, a third party, I'm reading it from a distance, but having somebody like say it in my head, in my headphones, like, just seems weird, and that was a very explicit sex scene, so I'm very glad that I gave up the audiobook at the exact right moment. You know how I just said that I love Trick? Well, today I ended up reading the part where Trick tells Mia all about his tattoos and how he got them, and how his, you know, like, grandfather basically tortured him because he was the son of rape. And like, that conversation and like Mia and Trick's connection and just his vulnerability, first of all, made me love Trick more, and that was the turning point when I actually started enjoying reading this book. Sadly, it was 280 pages, and I mean, like, I have been finding the book interesting. Like, I've been liking Mia and Trick. I've been interested to see what's going to happen, but I haven't been, like, enjoying my reading experience. And then now, finally, like, I'm feeling invested. Like, that hooked me in. And then, like, after that, a lot of stuff's happening, like Carlotta being killed, and so that leads to, like, kind of a mystery aspect, because now 2 people have died, and we don't know who is killing these people. And then hearing the whole, like, part where Mia's flashback while she's getting whipped, where she's, like, thinking back to when she went to go save her mother, and, like, all of that, learning more about her darkened abilities. So all of that has just been, like, really intriguing to me. So, like, I'm actually really invested now and want to keep going, which, you know, only took, like, 2/3 of the book to get there. But, like, you know, you've probably told from this vlog how long it is taking me to read this book. Like, the first half probably took me, like, 3 weeks or whatever. I don't remember when I started this. But today alone, just in half of a day, I've already read 50 pages. And it's not even, like, evening time yet. So that shows I'm finally feeling invested. Okay, so I just went through, like, several emotions all at once. Went down, up, oh my gosh. So this last, like, couple chapters have been really good. Like, so first I was like really excited that Mia was working on, like, the poison thing, and I was like, oh, I'm glad this book is focusing on the fact that her strength is her smarts and all that stuff. And then, you know, she was in the cafeteria and getting all excited and making a big deal about the fact that she figured something out. Obviously other people overheard, and then she goes to have her little sex time with Trick, leaving her notebook for somebody to steal. And then I'm like, oh, Mia, you're so dumb. Like, how could she be so smart and do something so dumb? And then she pulls the whole trick with, like, her and Jess fighting, and it turns out that she had actually, like, lied in her notebook and poisoned Diamo. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went the whole gamut. I did not see that coming. Like, I don't know, maybe everybody else saw that coming. I didn't. I thought she was just gonna, like, you know, use her skills with the stuff that her and Nave have been learning with the weapons and stuff like that. I had no idea that she had tricked Diamo and that he was gonna die because of it. And yeah, that part actually, like, really surprised me, and now I'm, like, really excited to keep finding out about the trials and, like, see who wins each of them and all that. I just finished the part where she goes to her final initiation and she's, like, given the innocent boy to kill in order to join and become a blade. And, like, just all the thought process that went through her head and that whole section of, like, her coming to grips that, like, even though she is an instrument of murder and, like, training for vengeance, that she's doing this all for a reason, that she's not out to just kill the innocent. She's out, like, to seek vengeance for wrongdoing. And I just really liked, I know it sounds horrible, like but just, like, the thoughts going through her head and her resolve to give up this dream in order to do what's right. So I'm not sure what's going to happen from here, but I really liked that scene. And so far, the end of this book is really, like, redeeming it for me. I was having trouble there for a while, but I'm feeling on board now. No. No, 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 no. J. Kristoff, you do not kill off my favorite character. You do not do that to me. So I closed the book as soon as we found out the plot and Trick being killed. And I am not a fan of the, like, savior trope where the person comes back from the dead or whatever, but I am really hoping the Trick somehow, like, caught on something on his way down. I don't really understand the, like, altar and the sky. Like, somehow he had better be alive. I am not happy at all. Trick was the main thing that made me love this book. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it tonight. I thought I was going to just zoom through and finish, but I don't know. I might need a moment to, like, calm myself after that moment. I'm just very upset right now. Okay, so I took a break, put it down for a couple hours to mourn my Trick, and then picked it back up. I haven't finished. I wanted to take a walk before it got too dark, but I wanted to mention that, like, while I was reading the part where Mia's waiting in the blood pool for, like, all of the, like, soldiers to come through and like, then she goes about attacking, all I could think about in my head is that she is just standing there in a giant pool of blood. And, like, I couldn't cut straight on the story because I'm just imagining how disgusting that would be. To just be sitting there waiting and waiting and just being covered in blood. Yeah, so I didn't really get to focus on probably some of the most, like, crucial point of the, like, climax, but I'm going to get back to it. I stopped, like, right after that when she starts, like, killing everybody, so I'll hop back in. There's only 30 pages left, so I should be able to finish it tonight. So I know yesterday I said I was going to finish this last night, but I didn't, so I started reading, and, you know, it was, like, one, like, killing spree after another, and so I gotten through, like, her whole killing and attacking at the, like, red church. Then, you know, the bad guys are fleeing out of the mountain. She's following them over the sand. Got through all of that killing, and then she gets to Last Hope, and I'm like, oh, there's gonna be another killing spree, and I decided to put it down because it was becoming like watching, you know, like a Transformers movie or something, where there's just so much explosions and killing and death and things happening that none of it has meaning anymore. And so that's what it was feeling like to me, that obviously she was being really badass and really, like, doing some awesome things with her shadows at the church, and, like, she was being really clever and everything, and I was like enjoying it, but then I thought if I see you have to read another killing spree tonight, I'm just gonna it's gonna lose its effect on me because it was just like one thing after another. So I put it down and picked it back up this morning and finished that fight scene where she releases Cassius and her and Cassius are fighting, and she finally gets to kill one of the guys. Is it Remus, the Justicus? That's one of the 3 guys that she wants to kill. So I'm kind of wondering, since it's a trilogy, does she kill one of the guys and we wait till the 3rd book to kill Sceva? Because that seems to be like the high guy. So this time we get Remus, next time it'll be Duomo, and then Sceva will be in book 3. That's just my theory, that each time we're going to kill another big guy. I don't know. So I finished the main part of the book. Now on to the epilogue. Okay, alright, so I really haven't read much, but I just like started the epilogue, which of course now I can't even like turn to it. Started reading the epilogue, and just even like the first paragraph, it's obvious that they're in the island, whatever that island is, where the Dwayne people are, where Trick is from. And I'm like, well, we're not following Mia at this point. Does that mean Trick's gonna come back? So this is my little like hope that Trick is gonna suddenly appear, but it could just be, I remember Trick and Mia made that promise to each other that if something happened to one of them, they would get the other's vengeance. So either Mia's gonna come and kill Trick's grandfather, or Trick's gonna come back. I know, I'm probably like being horrible, like imagining. Jake Kristoff does not seem like the type of person that's gonna bring my favorite character back. He seems like the kind that when somebody's dead, they stay dead. Well, first, Trick did not come back, which is fine. I said before, I don't like the resurrection trope, so I'm glad he didn't do that, but at the same time, I just really liked Trick. But kudos to Kristoff for writing a character that I loved so much that I am like super sad that he's dead. Trick was the one that made me actually start enjoying the story and get into it, so I'm sad that he is gone and won't be like part of the 2nd book. And like part of what I was looking forward to was Mia and his rapport and all that, so a little sad about that. But let's go through my overall thoughts, because now that I'm done, I'm trying to kind of place it all together. You guys have been there the whole time, so you've seen the ups, the downs, everything, and I just don't know how to rate this. Like, part of my instinct just says 4 stars, which sounds weird because I have complained probably quite a lot in this vlog, but it just seemed like the last like 2/3 just like really gripped me, and I just really loved it. So if we're talking about it, I kind of go by the actual books. You know how like if you've read this before, which hopefully you have, or else I've spoiled a whole lot, it's separated out into books like book 1, book 2, book 3. And book 1 I found really hard to read, hard to get into the writing. I didn't like the like going back in time and her flashbacks and then going to present tense and going back between those. Made it hard for me to read. The language was really hard, the footnotes were hard, everything was just hard, and it felt like work. Like this almost felt like schoolwork to read that first book. And then we got into book 2 when they were like at the Red Church and actually like doing the assassin school thing, and that part I liked. I really liked the characters she was meeting, like getting to know like the people she was friends with, the people she was making enemies. You know, people were dying, things were happening. Like I was really invested in the appreciation of like making this assassin school like hard and have risks and stakes and all that, but still be full of like friendships and building camaraderie and all that stuff. It was a great mix, so I liked that part. Didn't necessarily love it, but I was enjoying myself finally. And then the last book I really enjoyed. I think, you know, it just really gripped me once. That was, I guess, book 3 starts with right after she gets the lashings, right? So basically everything kind of just speeds along so fast in book 3, where she's like competing for spider killers to win that trial and the poison. So we're seeing her like really exert herself studying wise. She's also like kicking butt in the trial of songs, which was awesome to see her kind of come back and be like both fierce of mind and fierce of like fighting. And then of course all the like myriad of fight after fight after fight, killing spree at the end, and her finally getting at least one of her vengeance. So I don't know, the 3rd book was definitely like almost 5 stars for me. So I guess I'm just gonna settle with 4 stars, even though I probably would have DNF'd this if I wasn't reading this with a buddy group. I never would have picked this up if it hadn't been for that buddy read group, because I was like, well, I want to see and talk about it with the other people, even if I don't like it. And I ended up liking it, and I never thought that I was going to go on to the second book. Like, for the majority of the time I was reading this, I was like, this is work, this is hard. I don't know, I'm starting to like it, but I don't think I want to do this to myself again. But by the end, I was like, oh, now I'm really invested in her story and her revenge and her vengeance plot. And I heard that book 2 is like kind of a game thing, like a Thunderdome kind of game thing going on. I don't know exactly, but like, I love those kind of things, like Hunger Games vibes. Like, yes, give me a game like that where people kill each other. I know that sounds bad, but it's something that's intriguing to me, so I probably will continue on, which I never thought I would. So, the things you find out. Thanks for coming along with me on this ride, and I'll see you the next time I do a book babble. Bye!